The project files and assets I use are all available for free on my website, geckogamedev.com. This is how you create a finite state machine to handle all of your movement modes. You have one class, the state machine, that can run one and only one state at a time. Inside each state is your logic that drives your character's movement. Because you can't do multiple states at any given time, there isn't any risk of movement overlap. Unreal is switching over to a similar system called Mover, which essentially works just like this. But at the time of recording, it's in its very early stages, and most people are still using the character movement component, so this method is designed to work in tandem with that component rather than be a standalone system. I've created an extra input for sprinting called IA Sprint. Please note that it has both the pressed and released triggers added to it, meaning this input will fire once when I press the button and once when I release it. I will first create the generic movement state class. This only needs to hold data and not be spawned in the world nor attached to an actor, so I'll make the base class of type object. Inside, I need to ready a few functions that the children will use, 5 to be precise. Can enter, on tick, on exit, and can exit. Can enter and can exit need outputs of booleans, and make sure they're true by default or you'll find yourself not being able to leave states. If it isn't obvious, can enter is to check if it's possible to enter this state. Do we have enough stamina? Are we standing in the right spot? Etc. On enter is the equivalent of the begin play, on tick is fired every frame of this state, and on exit is there to provide an option to clean up anything before we transition states. And of course, can exit makes sure we can exit the state at all. I also know these will need access to the character it's affecting, so I will create a variable for it and expose it on spawn. I then create the state machine as a component. I know this is going to be used directly on the character class, so I'll get the owning actor, cast it to the character, and promote the character to a variable. If the cast fails, I'll print a string reminding myself that this component is only designed to be a part of the character class. I also want the movement state to have a reference to the state machine that's controlling it, so I'll go back into the movement state and create a variable that is also exposed on spawn. Now it's time to switch between states. Back in the state machine class, I make another variable of type movement state and call it current state. I'll also create a function called change state. When we change states, we want to make sure that the on exit fires after the last tick of the current state, and on enter fires before the first tick of the next state. Because of that, when we change states, I'll have the engine wait until the next frame to do this to allow the current execution path to both fire off on exit and on enter before the next on tick. To do this, I'll need another function called QChangeState. Give this one an input of desired state and promote that to a variable called queued state. This way, we can use that variable next frame to change states. There's many things we have to check before changing states. First, check if the queued state is the same class as your current state. If it is, kill the function. We don't want to transition into the same state that we're already in. Second, we need to see if we can exit our state. Get the current state and call can exit. If we can't, we can end the function right here. Third, we need to see if we can enter our new state. In order to call that function, we have to first create the object. Call construct object from class and use the queued state as the class. Promote it to a local variable to access it more easily down the line. We can also pass through those two references so our state knows which player to affect and which state machine is controlling it. Check if our new state can enter, and if false, once again we end the function. We can't destroy objects on our own the way we can with actors and components. Unreal handles that for us with garbage collection, so just know if this fails, this state will exist for a tiny bit before Unreal sees that nothing is using it and gets rid of it. If we've come this far into the function, we know that we can safely change states. Call the current states on exit, set the current state to our new state, and call the current states on enter, as the current state variable is now referencing a different state. And like before, the old state will be deleted when Unreal sees fit. Now, we're using 4 out of the 5 movement state functions correctly. Lastly, we just need the tick. In the movement state machine's event tick, if there's a queued state, we want to utilize this frame to switch states, so-called change state, and make sure to empty out the queued state, or it will try to change states every frame. If there is no queued state, call the current states on tick. Lastly, I want to set a state by default since I always want one state running. Create a variable called default state and make it of type movement state class. Then on begin play, construct it, set it to the current state, add the exposed variables, and call on enter. I'm bypassing can enter since this code is required for a state to always be set. If we then add movement state machine to our player, we can set the default state here. I don't like that you can see the current state and queued state here as well in the details panel. And since we can't hide that the traditional way without C++, I will instead just make these variables private, which will hide it in the details panel. But since other blueprints will need to access the current state later on, I will also create a pure function called getCurrentState and return the current state's value. Now we can create some states that actually do something for us. A lot of states, like walking or running, use similar code. So I'll create a parent class for those two called SimpleWalking that handles all of that walking logic, and we don't need to have boilerplate code on each state. Create a child blueprint class of movement state called Simple Walking. All we want to add in here is moving our character with WASD controls. Object classes and even actor components can't register inputs, so we have to pass them through from the character. I'll open the parent class, movement state, and add 2 events, move input with a vector 2D input and sprint input with a Boolean input. You'll want to add one for every single input that you want to pass through. Inside your player character, call your move input action and pass it through to the movement state machine's current state. Do the same with the sprint input and whatever inputs you want your other states to have access to. Back in Simple Walking, override the move input and call all the classic movement code here, getting the owning character variable and adding movement input based on its direction vectors. Because I want both entering the walk state and the sprint state to change your max walk speed, I'll also put that logic in Simple Walking. In the onEnter event, set the max walk speed and promote that to a variable. Then all we have to do is create the 2 child blueprint classes of Simple Walking called Walk and Sprint, and set the respective walk speeds in each. If I set movement state machine's default state to walking, I can now walk around like normal and it's controlled through our system. In the walk state, I'll override the sprint input event. If the action value is true, meaning I press the sprint key, I want to queue state change into the sprint state. Inside the sprint state, if I want to go back to walking when I release the shift key, I override the same event and queue the walking state if I release the key. And you now have a proper setup for a movement state machine. I'll now rapid fire a couple of extra tips to help you continue on from here. First off, we only ever want to call queue change state and not change state. We can set change state to private to make it inaccessible from other blueprints. While selecting the default class, we have the parent classes as options as well, even though they only exist to hold code that many states need to access. We don't ever actually want to use these. We can change both of these to be abstract to tell the engine that we don't actually want to use these for anything other than being a parent class. States are constantly being created and destroyed. That means their values are destroyed along with them. If you need a value that multiple states need to access, it needs to belong to a class that stays persistent, like the movement state machine class. Print strings on the state machine tick to see what state you're in and what speed you're at. Make sure to give the print strings a key so they override their previous values and don't flood the left side of your screen. Timers are handled by an internal timer manager. If you create a timer inside a movement state and change to another state, the timer will continue firing until the last state is destroyed, which can take up to an entire minute. To avoid this, I create a function in the parent movement state called setStateTimer, passing through all the inputs. I then add that timer to an array of timers, and on the onExit function, I loop through the array and clear all of them, in case there are any that still exist. Then inside timers, you would just use the set state timer that we made instead of regular timers and never have to worry about it again, since the timer will be destroyed upon moving states. The easiest way I found to handle animations is creating an enumeration called eAnimationStates. I make this separate because multiple states might need the same animations. Add your values and then make it a variable inside the movement state parent class, and set the values in the respective classes. Then, in the animation blueprint, you can blend by the enum to choose whatever animation you want to use. To animate the camera alongside the running, I created a camera modifier class to add to the player camera manager class, and set the camera's local rotation to match the camera bone that I animated on the skeleton. Using this method, instead of just attaching the camera to the bone, allows me to multiply the rotation by a float to easily control the intensity of the head bobbing, which you could turn into a setting in the settings menu, as many people prefer to turn off head bobbing. Some people prefer to toggle sprint as well instead of holding it. To make it a toggle, just switch the queueState function from releasing the key to pressing the key again. We can also switch back to walking if we release the move keys. Just make sure to call the parent function of the move input event, since that's where all the base movement logic is stored. To make this work properly, IAMove needs to fire every frame you hold down the input and once when you release the input, so it can output a value of less than 1 at all. Open IAMove, and when your input action doesn't have any triggers, it actually is just using the down trigger by default. So we want to add the down trigger to include the default behavior and then also include the release trigger, so it fires one more time after we release our move input keys. Or you could avoid doing all of this and just check the move input values on the sprint's tick. Well, that's about all the info I can squeeze out of this lesson. I'll likely make another video expanding on the types of states you can add to this, so subscribe if you don't want to miss that.